everyone, and welcome to another Scots Way podcast. And today I'm joined by Dawn Taylor to talk all about the Manipulate Festival. Hello, Dawn.
Hiya, how you doing?
I'm well, thank you. And I'm really excited to talk about this because I wasn't really aware of Manipulate, but there's lots going on, let's put it that way. What can you tell us about Manipulate for this year?
Yeah, so this year is the 16th edition of Manipulate. It will be our first full live festival in 3 years. And the first one actually since I started in post. So it's particularly exciting for me, but also just so thrilled for our community to be back with a bang. In celebration of that, I think the main thing this year that we're particularly excited about is that we're really exploding out into the city. So previously our festival has been contained into one or maybe two venues, and this year we really want to reach out and got some brilliant new venue partnerships, but also into the city streets, and that's very much about connecting with new audiences and reaching people maybe like yourself who haven't heard that much about Manipulate before, to kind of introduce ourselves and really make sure that we're reaching as many people as possible. So we've got an exciting programme that I can tell you all about.
And that city is Edinburgh, we should say. That is, yeah, because it's grown arms and legs, and as you say, it's expanding out to new places, and it's outside as well as inside. What is the programme? Can you tell? I mean, it's a huge programme, so we may be some time, but what can you tell us about the programme?
Well, in terms of our remit and what we do, we define ourselves as presenting work that is primarily visual. It's visually led. And what we mean by that is that it's work which maybe uses mostly imagery rather than text to tell a story, or which breathes life into the inanimate. And by that we mean animation, puppetry, object theatre, animated forms. And the reason for those art forms particularly, I mean, it's in terms of people who are familiar with the British theatre tradition, particularly, we have a very text-based theatre culture. And that's unlike a lot of other European countries where work is designed to naturally to travel across borders. So in terms of being internationally facing in Edinburgh's international festival city, and also in our wider remit as Puppet Animation Scotland, it very much made sense to us to nurture this strand of work, which is about using other ways to communicate, activating other parts of the brain, and awakening things in people. And so that can span anything. When we talk about visual work, it can span, let's say, puppetry and object theatre, but it can also be physical theatre, dance theatre, bits of circus and aerial. And then in the film side, it's animated forms across the full spectrum of what that might mean. So stop motion, hand-drawn animation, some computer animation, and increasingly installation work we're doing as well. So we find sometimes we talk about our festival like where we absorb refugee art forms where they don't quite know where they fit in other places. They come to us, and it's very much about the visually led. And one thing that's really nice about that is it enables us to connect with people who might struggle or aren't naturally catered for in text-based work. So we have a big D-deaf audience and hard of hearing audience members. And also for people who have English as a second language, it transcends naturally, as I say, it transcends boundaries. So I think there's really something in there for everyone.
It's interesting. I'm thinking that in this country, often some of the art forms you've spoken about are maybe considered, or they had been in the past considered, for children only, but in the rest of the world, often that's not the case, is it? You know, I'm thinking circus, animation, puppetry in particular. There's not maybe the same tradition here that there has in, say, Eastern Europe or somewhere like that.
Yeah, I think in Northern Europe, so some Nordic countries, they have a similar battle. My sort of peer festival directors in Europe often talk about breaking down this preconception about puppetry for children only.
Yeah.
The preconception actually exists everywhere in a way, but as you say, less so in Eastern and Central Europe. And we've learned a lot. I mean, my predecessor, Simon Hart, who founded the festival, I think initially took inspiration from being at these festivals in Europe, where this work so naturally, nobody was asking the question, but why is it puppetry for adults? It was just, that's what we did. Yeah. Same with visual theatre. You could go to major theatres in Slovenia or Croatia and see work with absolutely no language in it. And I think that's much more unusual here. And so that's very much what our mission is to look at different ways of telling a story.
And you spoke about, you know, bringing your community together. So what is that community? Is it people who are regularly attending as well as people who create the art?
Yeah, it's both of those things: enthusiasts, artists, critics. And our audience is really varied. You know, we have a really broad range of sort of cross section of ages and backgrounds that attend our work. We have a really committed core audience that have been with us right the way through. And I think a lot of what we're doing this year is about trying to show a broader base of people actually how much there is for everyone, you know. And so we love, I mean, our audience are so devoted to the festival, and we want to hang on to that core. But I think a lot of people don't realize, particularly with the preconceptions you mentioned, that this kind of work could be for them. And so that's the idea with being out in the city streets, bringing it to people rather than expecting them to come to us. And then hopefully next time they'll come to us.
So how can people, where can people find stuff and find the work going on?
So we're in 4 venues. We're indoor venues across the city. We've got Summer Hall, the studio at the Festival Theatre, so the studio on Potter Row, Fruit Market, which is a new relationship for us this year, which is really exciting, and the Traverse Theatre.
Right.
So there's 4 locations for indoor work. And then we're also going to be outside. So there is a major projected installation in the streets, which is in a location yet to be revealed.
Okay.
Projected onto Edinburgh's architecture every night of the festival. And then we will also have a roving large-scale puppet installation. Again, which locations will be revealed. I say that like it's going to be this big, exciting secret. It's just we want to make sure that we don't say it's in a place and then it's somewhere else. Yeah, so sure. Watch this space in late January, and you can find out where to find these roving artworks.
So when people are in and around Edinburgh during the festival, they may bump into puppets and things going on.
They may bump into puppets. I would hope they'll almost certainly see projections on the side of buildings, which is very exciting. Yeah.
And you say this is its 16th year. What can you tell us a little bit about the history of it?
Sure. As I say, my predecessor, Simon Hart, initially, so the organisation dates back to 1984, and it was Puppet Animation Festival, which was a festival for children and families that took place all across Scotland. And when Simon Hart came on board, that grew into Puppet Animation Scotland, a development agency for these art forms. And then it was approaching 2008, so sort of 2006-07, Simon was visiting other countries in Europe, looking at the development of puppetry as an art form, and really just noticing this glaring gap of puppetry for adults. And Ben Torrey, who was working with him at the time, who's now actually on our board, so sort of a nice cycle. His first arts job was with us, and now he's on our board. The two of them were talking about names and ideas, and manipulate emerged. The idea of whether it's manipulating the body, manipulating an object, manipulating forms, not manipulating people, we hope. And really it was about the fact that there wasn't a lot of work happening at the grassroots level, or a lot of investment in this kind of art making at the grassroots level. And the idea was, let's bring over some of the very best work from across Europe, help those artists mix and mingle with Scottish artists, and maybe we'll seed some of this. So I think that first festival was about 85% international work.
Right.
In more recent years, it's been about 70% Scottish work, which just shows the huge growth there's been in the Scottish sector in this time. And that is really down to the work of Simon and the team, and everyone who's been here across the years, along with other organisations like Surge, who work in sort of street theatre and physical theatre. It feels like it's a form that's really, really grown in the last decade.
And did you manage to do anything during the lockdowns? Was it just, closed down for a couple of years?
No, we did a lot. I mean, maybe if I hadn't been so new, we would have done less. But I came in August 2020, full of vim and vigor. And, our artists are just, they're so used to kind of conjuring magic out of nothing. They had all of this creative energy, and obviously saw their livelihoods absolutely gutted in COVID. It felt like our responsibility, especially as an organisation who relies less on ticket revenue than some of the bigger festivals, to just create work for people and continue to make things happen. So we did a fully digital festival in 2021, and we had people tuning in from 39 countries around the world. We had these live chats after the performances where people would be like, hey, I'm in China, it's 4 a.m. here, but I wanted to see the show, which was lovely. And then last year we had, unfortunately, we planned a bigger live program, which half of it had to be cancelled due to Omicron. But we still did manage to get some live work on and had a complete sellout festival last year. But this is the first, full return. I guess the only regret is that, like so many organisations, we developed this really interesting digital program in COVID, and then in a way we've come straight back to live. And there's a lot of questions about to what extent do we maintain that? And I don't know whether people's appetite for seeing digital work is as strong as it used to be, but it feels like there's something there in the international network that we built that we still want to capitalize on, but it's figuring out how, I think.
So is there going to be a kind of hybrid element that obviously you've got the live stuff happening, but there will be some digital aspect?
Yeah, so our film program is online, and it will remain online now. That was an adaptation for the pandemic that's here to stay, which is great. So we've got both live showings and online showings. We also developed this strand during COVID when we were thinking about how can you make art that's performance without any people in it, so that we don't have this like cross-infection risk. So we started this strand of installation, and particularly around kinetic sculptures, so sculptures that move on their own. And it was just really popular. So then last year we had a digital sort of augmented reality installation, which again did very well. It came over from France. I say it came over from France, came over in one box without any humans, which is why we were able to bring it last year. And so we're really, that's another thing that's been a COVID adaptation that's here to stay, I think, because it allows people, for whatever reason, who might not be able to attend an evening performance as easily as others. And I look at myself, I think of myself in this, because I've got 2 small children, and sometimes like the babysitting and the getting out, so installation allows us to put work on through the day flexibly. Sometimes it's drop in, drop out. And it's a lot of it is just about speaking to all those different audience groups, or as you say, online, whereby people they can't get to Edinburgh, but they can still engage with what we do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just the international aspect of that, but it's the national aspect as well, that people who are interested around Scotland will be able to take part without having to travel.
Yeah. And we had a lot of people emailing us saying that their disability or their caring responsibilities or the sheer miles from wherever in US didn't make it a possibility. So before, so it was really exciting, I think, to broaden in that way. It's just performance is the harder one to think about how it lives online and live. And I know some people are doing it really well, but it's a challenge when you don't have the budget of the National Theatre Live program.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But this seems like a real back with a bang with the kind of size of the festival and having new partnerships and doing outdoor stuff. Does it feel like almost starting over for you? Like, let's do this bigger than we've ever done before?
I guess I probably wouldn't use the expression starting over, because I think what had been built when I came in by everyone collectively and then has been carried on, it's really about continuing with the spirit of that, but thinking about the kind of what was sparked in the pandemic was actually the adaptations we had to make for a reason we didn't want to ended up having these benefits, like we're reaching new people. And I think that's the thing that's stuck, is reaching new people. Like, actually this is for everyone, it should be for everyone. We need to do more to reach everyone, and that has felt a really positive kind of bolt of energy through the whole organization. Like, how can we find as many ways to do that as possible? And
what can people expect? Can you tell us a little bit about the program?
Sure. So we've got work from, how many countries? About 14 countries, I think. Maybe more than that. 18 countries we've got work from, of which, as I say, the majority is Scottish. But there are 4 productions, theatre productions coming over from various corners of Europe. They include a piece called Birdie, which is a micro cinema theatre piece about migration, told through the lens of the metaphor of migrating birds, and looking quite specifically as its example at this one town in the north of Morocco, which is under Spanish control, and the kind of, I guess, the arbitrariness of boundaries and how they don't mean anything to other creatures we share the planet with. And there's, I think, 1,000 miniature animals in the piece, and they use tiny little cameras and big screens to weave a narrative that we go along with them on. It's beautiful work, which I'd highly recommend. That's part of our international programme. On the Scottish side, we have the premiere of a new piece called Love Beyond, Act of Remembrance. So that's a brand new co-production between leading deaf visual theatre artist Ramesh Mayapan with Vanishing Point and Raw Materials. That'll be coming to the Traverse. And it's a piece, it is about, ostensibly it's about a couple and a deaf man who has dementia, but it's not really about those things. It's a love story, and a very unusual love story about how love lives in our memory and how the people around us exist for us outside of time, or when time and memory is experienced in an unusual way. And I guess it encourages us to think about how barriers like dementia might be experienced by somebody who's already deaf. But that sounds like a worthier show. It's just a beautiful love story that I'd really recommend people see. We also have in our film programme a selection of international shorts by women from around the world. I think in that programme particularly, we have work from 5 new countries that have never been at the festival before, including Iran and Azerbaijan and Mali, Iceland. And it's really just showcasing extraordinary female filmmakers from across the world in a series of shorts. In the film sector particularly, and in animation particularly, women are still quite underrepresented and struggle to access the same opportunities. So this has been a really important programme for us. And it's just banging. There's just such a range of different styles. I think that's one not to miss. And maybe I'll just highlight an installation piece as well, so you have a nice range. I guess something for everybody that everyone can experience is this video piece I was talking about before. It's called Unretained by a Belgian artist called Sabine Molinar, who festival regular attendees may recognise the name of. She's been a few times with her company Sandman Dance. This time, the work is a video work, and she is during lockdown filmed dancers with all very different body types, including a pregnant woman, different ages and shapes, moving and dancing underwater. So they're weightless, timeless bodies moving in this kind of beautiful, weightless way, which will be projected across the architecture of Edinburgh in the evenings, every evening of the festival. And yes, check it out in late January. We'll make an announcement of where you can find.
Oh, excellent. I'm looking forward to that. And how can people get tickets and get involved?
So all of our tickets are sold by our partner venues. The best place to start is our website, which is manipulatefestival.org. There's a full list of everything that's on. So we also have workshops, we have networking events, there are the installations I mentioned, the shows, the films, everything is listed in our what's on. And then when you click into the individual shows, it'll take you to the link of the venue where you can book tickets. There may be some things which are free, but you still need to book a ticket for, so just double check. And the other thing I'd mention is that the festival really is primarily for adults. So in terms of the audience, everything is got an age guidance on it. Right. And we will let you know if there are things you can bring the family to. Obviously, the things that happen out in the street are perfect for kids, and we really welcome them at any show where the age rating is suitable. But just double check before you book.
Yeah, because people might think, oh, it's a puppet show, and not realise that there is a rating there. And I wanted to ask you about, aside from Manipulate, what Puppet Animation Scotland do, aside from that, for the rest of the year.
So we are, we sort of define actually as an art form development, advocacy and support organisation. So we really see ourselves as the kind of go-to organisation in Scotland for creatives in this field looking to develop their practice. So if people are a professional artist in any of the art forms we have discussed, they can get in touch with us. We support artistic practice in a number of ways. We have seed funding to give out. We do producing surgeries with people. We do networking events, artist ticket fund, so people can get money support with the cost of attending work. And anyone who's interested in a career in the creative industries, I think, is very welcome to approach us. We love just to have conversations with people. And then the other major strand of our work is through a program called Captivate, which is new. It's the evolution of Puppet Animation Festival that I mentioned before, which is our children and families work. And we've evolved it into this thing called Captivate for the reason that we found we were going to 40, 50, 60, 70 locations for the 3 hours. And this program is about going to 3 locations for 5 years and really bedding into communities. And we deliver programs around puppetry and emotional resilience, holiday hunger animation programs for families who are vulnerable and experiencing poverty, and general community placemaking, creative engagement work. And that takes place in North Lanarkshire, Western Edinburgh, and the Western Isles. So if you live in any of those places, check out Captivate, because it's happening.
Well, because I was thinking as we've been talking, in other arts, I think people, if they're interested, they maybe know, what to do to take that first step, but in puppetry, perhaps not. So getting in touch with yourselves was maybe the first step that people could take.
Yeah, and I think if people have an interest in doing more puppetry at home or themselves or trying it out, we do have a section on our website, which is actually, I think, under development at the moment, but coming soon. During lockdown, we ran this project called Puppetry at Home, which sort of exploded on YouTube with little tutorials of ways to make puppets and do puppetry with their kids. And that, coming very soon, is all going to be available on our website. So if people want to try different techniques, just as an amateur or for fun, that will be available on our website. And there's also a series of resources for people interested in exploring it as a career. So check it all out on our website, because it's all almost there.
And before we go, I think it'd be worth reminding people of the dates and details of Manipulate.
Sure. So it'll be running the 2nd until the 11th of February, 2023, across 4 venues in Edinburgh. The times each day vary, so have a look at our website. Most of the activities in the evening, but there are some all-day activities as well.
Well, Dawn, it's been fascinating talking to you. It really makes me want to join in with Manipulate. Sounds great.
Yeah, please come along. We'd love to have you.
And we'll be back soon with someone completely different. Cheers.